Welcome back, everybody, to a brand new best of 5. It's PvP. Oops, Daisy. Didn't see that. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, he is Liquid MaNa. In the top left, as the blue Protoss, he is Harstem. Should be a great PvP. We had a pretty good one with Harstem earlier, where he took on DNS and barely went out in a close 3-2. DNS definitely had some clever tactics that almost got him the 3-1, actually. But not quite. MaNa had a pretty good PvP, I think a couple weeks ago or last week or something like that. But in the most recent games they've played, which looks like it was the Penthouse Party, Harstem was able to overcome MaNa in a 3-2. That was not even a month ago, less than a month ago. They've actually been pretty back and forth, I guess, as all things, you know, for the last 6 months, which is probably the most important portion of the data. And I could definitely see this going either way. MaNa has some trickier builds, I believe, than Harstem. Harstem has really good defense and just a smart guy. So what will win out here? It is getting around that time where I'm like a little tired, you know, the solo casting, but so kind of excited to see what happens. I mean, I don't really want to remark on too much on Snoot. I think everyone's a little disappointed that Snoot didn't look like dominating in this because everyone is pretty hyped for any of the foreigners when it comes to BlizzCon. And I'll admit that I'm also a little disappointed, but if this is the thing we have to give up for Snoot to do well at BlizzCon, then I'm totally happy about that. I still think the 3 players now left, Harstem, MaNa, DNS, are all good Protosses that should give us a lot of really great PvPs. And that's what it is from here on out, PvP. We should have like Roddy or someone to cast with. I like PvP a lot. I think at this point in Legacy of the Void, I like most matchups. But since Heart of the Swarm, where I hated almost every single Protoss one, and not because of Protoss being Protoss, although that somewhat contributed to it, I just thought that it was pretty boring, you know? PvZ was so determined in Heart of the Swarm, PvP was also getting pretty stale. PvT has always been kind of a fun one, but even that sometimes, you know, SCV pulls and all that. I think most matchups involving Protoss is actually really fun. Some people might disagree with Mass Oracles being a little BS looking, but whatever. So PvP is always that matchup that I'm always like, Protoss? Oh no, wait, I actually really like this matchup. This is a really interesting one. TVT I still think has all the complexities that I love, but let's be real, guys. At least this isn't a ZVC. And being that it is the European group, it's a little surprising, I guess. But we managed to collect all the great Protoss and just bring them here. Starting to see a little bit of a difference here. Robo and Twilight Council compared to Robo and Forge. Harstem going for that Forge. Gonna get quicker +1, but be later to what could be Charge. I'd say most time is now Charge. There's certainly a period of time, multiple periods of time, in all of the expansions, I want to say. Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, Legacy of the Void, where Blink was the expected one. And if you didn't get Blink, then you were a fool. But things have changed. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Okay, it is going to be Blink. We did see Blink first from DNS in at least one of the games in their series, DNS versus Harstem. And it is still a very useful tool early on. Lose a little bit of its potency later in the game, but early on it still has all the benefits it has had for the last 7 years of StarCraft. You know, that map control, the micro ability, and the ability to both be aggressive and perhaps defensive if necessary. Now, Harstem going to be adding on its Twilight Council a little bit later. Could just go right into Charge, not get Blink at all himself. Which I'd say the later you wait, the less likely it is going to be Blink. MaNa going to take a 3rd base, perhaps hook around a little bit with his Blink Stalkers. He's going to get a Warp Prism as well. He could either use that to micro his Immortals. 2 of them will be quite a pain to deal with. Or micro his Stalkers even further. Harstem also looking for his 3rd base. They both scouted a couple of times. Harstem just now getting a hallucinate Phoenix to see the third base. MaNa also needs to get one to see the third base, but I'm guessing they kind of know what's happening just off of the 2 bases they've already scouted in the army compositions. There's the third base attack. Has it seen the Twilight Council? Yeah, yeah. Last one way other back there. They both know exactly what they're doing. Double forge from MaNa. All right. Definitely going to make up for Harstem's much faster single forge. There's finally a Harstem's Twilight Council. And the 2 immortals were picked up to go do some damage. More Prisms starting its harassment. Immortals take out structures, take out probes fast enough. Don't take out Zealots too quickly. Waiting for the last second to pick up the Immortal. There we go. Really want to get that pylon, but unfortunately took damage on both Immortals, which was not the intention. Stargate being added on here. All right. So 3-base Stargate sometimes is a sign that they're getting prepped for super late game much faster than usual. Can be a little bit of a ballsy move, to be honest. But also, it could just mean they're going to get a Seal Oracle, take control of the map. The investment, 150, I believe it is, right? And plus the Oracle is sometimes worth the amount of scouting you're getting. And if it's a pretty even game, and you're not going to die because you afford an Oracle, I think it's a very useful tool to have. But for instance, whereas the Stargate, gets an Oracle for scouting, you don't get the High Templars or the Archons for an actual fight. Or feedbacks, I guess. Actually, not thinking about it. All right, a little bit more damage coming out here. MaNa doing some, well, whatever work he really can. His Immortal's getting quite low. I was gonna check. Damn it, stop attacking so I can check this. Uh-oh. Keep those lives as long as possible. 12 probes go down. Decent harassment there. What was I gonna check? Shit. Okay. So Harstem could be going Phoenix to try and take care of potential disruptors. Maybe he knows MaNa has gone disruptors before, or maybe he just anticipates it. Harstem was actually doing disruptors himself, and DNS was able to get Phoenixes to counter that. But I don't think that disruptors are the guaranteed tool that they used to be in PvP. So getting Phoenixes might be good, may not. War Prism is going to be taken out, and certainly the Phoenixes could have just been made to deal with this. It's done so much damage that I don't blame them. Stalk has been cleaned up, Immortals have been cleaned up, War Prism finally dies, but in total, this has done like 21, I was gonna guess that, 21 probes worth of damage, and now he's finally taking care of it just by building the Stargate. And now he can get an Oracle for scouting if he so pleases. But that might have just been for the War Prism. A lot more gateways coming down for MaNa. Harstem would start falling behind, I guess, on gateway production. We have the super epic Terran music again. Perhaps StarCraft just knows me. Harstem is the one going for disruptors. That's, I was talking about how MaNa, could, and maybe that's why Harstem was good for the Phoenix. Well, Harstem's the one who's been going for disruptors. And apparently he just really has a lot of faith in their ability in the mid game. We haven't really seen that be proven yet. On the Abyssal game, when he went Disruptors, DNS still took the fight, and even the Ascension to Ire game, I believe it was, the Disruptors weren't the reason that he won. Although they did help. Sometimes the transfer into Stargates or just even massing Zealots is better than going into Disruptors. We'll see how these compositions work out against each other. MaNa now also has a Stargate, and is going to be go Phoenixes. And if he knows Harstem, maybe you watch the games, maybe he just knows him in general, or maybe literally just seeing the Disruptor right now with the Observer, Phoenixes would be a great addition to take care of it. Harstem has some okay upgrades, but he's about to be severely behind. MaNa has invested into double upgrades right into the 2-2, so it's expensive, but it might just be worth it. 30 more seconds to go on those upgrades. Can he buy enough time? The army supplies aren't so different, and even without those upgrades being done, he still has equal, which is, obviously good enough. It's just a question of Harstem misreading this, clicking and seeing, okay, that's not that bad. I'm gonna choose to take this fight. And then bam, 2-2 finishes. That'd be pretty bad for him. But the Disruptors don't get any shots. And I think that already starts Harstem off on the wrong foot. One disruptor even trails behind. A clever little ruse was attempted by hallucinating 2 disruptors, but in plain sight of MaNa's phoenixes, so that didn't quite work. And Harstem is forced back and just simply loses out an army supply. His 4th base is only just finishing now, so he really wanted to do more damage than this. He's getting to +3, but that still doesn't beat out 2-2. Well, no, it doesn't. More Phoenixes being added in, as Harstem has still gone up to like 4 disruptors, despite the first 2 not working out. 5 disruptors. That honestly confused me for a good 10 seconds. Okay, so I guess the pylon was in the way to disruptors. So he's had more than he's ever shown in the front lines, just couldn't be there. A couple of feedbacks go down. He wants them to stop picking up the disruptors. The Phoenixes could live for all he cares. It's not so much about them and their air attack as it is about them lifting the disruptors. Although should be careful not to lose his Warp Prism to them. We saw versus DNS on this exact map in a very similar scenario. The High Templar are sure they got the feedbacks, but too many Phoenixes still lifted up too many disruptors, and their lack of Archon contribution ended up hurting Harstem more than anything else. Last minute split from MaNa was pretty good. It's a lot of damage to be taking a lot of Archons. Phoenixes are looking to pick up any disruptors. And MaNa's actually just simply looking for a fight here. He's got the better upgrades, but that's so many of them. 6 disruptors, at least one of them should get a decent shot. Lots of feedbacks go down. Some of the disruptors do get their shots off. 2 of them are lifted, but I think 2 decent shots went down. Where do those units come from? Oh, the Warp Prism's up here. Whoa, it's a slow proxy pylon? Well, that might still work out. Harstem ends up taking the worst end of the trade as more Phoenixes come forward to pick up more disruptors. He's left without much fodder for them, and no! He actually hits his own Immortal with a disruptor. Bad news there, and Harstem is losing out in this war. Down 10 army supply, still down to those upgrades. And while they might be slow warp-ins, they're still coming to the front lines. It's so difficult to hit charge lots with disruptors, although thanks, Harstem, for proving me wrong. A lot of cases, they're literally charging at your army, so either you risk hitting your own army, or they last-minute split in a concave and make it as ineffective as possible. Warp Prism is taken out. Harstem probably just forgot to micro it. MaNa continuing with his momentum into the natural base. He's trying to take out some probes here. The disruptors are still scary, but they really need support. More feedbacks go down and turning into Archons. Blink is available, and hey, Blink sometimes not very good as the game goes on. Kind of a perfect thing to have here. Blink is on cooldown though, and MaNa just took disruptors to the face, losing a good chunk of that superior army supply, and Harstem barely holds without taking too much economic damage. Some zealots started to get into the natural, but the cannon was instrumental in saving quite a few of them. Now MaNa is forced to kind of calm down. That seemed like a moment where he could win, but it wasn't. Calm down, rebuild his army. He still has that 4th base. Well, they both have 4th bases. And he still has a superior army supply. But, you know, just needed to make sure he didn't get overzealous and throw away his army. Harstem, you know, survives, but it's now 2 games where his disruptors don't really seem that useful. And even the game that he won with disruptors, again, it wasn't because of them. Still hesitant to think these are going to do the trick. How many Phoenixes survived? So all of the Phoenixes survived, I guess. 2 have been killed, that's it. Last minute split. Charge-outs were pretty bulked up. And I'm not sure there's enough feedback to get rid of all of them, and there definitely isn't. Most of the disruptors have picked up. One gets a shot off, but it's not that great. The High Templars try and form into Archons, but are killed by the Zealots before they can do so. One of those problems you just usually don't have to think about. And MaNa is going to force a tap out. GG. MaNa wins game number 1. Looking to get out first in the group. Next game's going to be an Ascension to Ire. Nope, it's the wrong map. It's really interesting to see Harstem force. It almost looks like he's like forcing the disruptor issue. Because ever since Phoenixes were discovered to be such a key counter, people have just really stopped trying to make disruptors. But it looks like almost Harstem's like, no, I don't believe they're useless. I think you just need feedbacks. Which is not wrong. Feedbacks can be the counter to the Phoenixes, but every single time I watch a feedback go down, it doesn't seem worth the loss of an Archon for it. If it was literally feedback to Phoenix equal ratio every time, then I guess it would be fine, but it never seems to be the case, and he's just down in Archons. But he has a lot of games to prove me wrong. Ascension to Ire is going to be next, and the players are both ready. See you there. Once I find the intro. Welcome back. We had something happen during the introduction. Nervous Chicken donates $5. We'll play that one. It says Sleeping Cat greater than Rifkin. Well, sleeping cats are greater than everything. So, also 7 minutes ago we had Loco TV with a huge host. I know I missed TLOs earlier, so sorry about that, but thank you very much to Loco if you're still hanging around. And Esna, I'm not sure I got that Twitch Prime, but thank you for that too. It was also a while ago. Doing a lot of walking and talking, and occasionally I just don't hear the alerts, so it'll be difficult to catch up. But alright, game number 2. In the top left, he's up 1. It is the red Protoss, MaNa. In the bottom right, as the blue Protoss, it is Harstem. And I went over my feelings in the between games, where Harstem just seems to really be interested in proving disruptors still have a place in this matchup. But so far, the only effectiveness I've found watching some other PvPs is if the person doesn't counter with Phoenixes. They either don't scout that it's disruptors, or they think they can do without the Phoenixes and like just mass charge lots. And sometimes that does backfire. But most of the time, with the scouting available to Protoss, especially to pro players who are very on point about it, I feel like I haven't seen the surprise disruptors in a while. Thank you, Diesel Max Power, for the bits. These are for Apollo. I'll be sure to give him that. He just sleeps so cute in that little hammock. We do have both players scouting. That was a notable aspect of Harstem's play against DNS. Was I think 3 out of 5 of the games he didn't scout, and 2 of those times he was actually in dire straits because of it. 1 loss, 1 victory, but still both times it was really grim. So both getting all the scouting they would need to start off a PvP, and later on we will have those Hallucinated Phoenixes. That was a mouthful. Hallucinated Phoenixes do more work. But Harstem going for Adept and more Adepts beyond that. MaNa is going to be able to scout this, which is really nice. So first saw the lack of a Nexus around the time that he took it, and then also saw 2 more Adepts, not like 2 more Stalkers, for instance. Because there's a little bit of a funny dynamic between these 2 gateway openers. 95% of PvP openers or something stupidly high like that are going to be 2 gateway openers. But what are they going to go for? Are they going to go for Stalkers, Adepts, 3rd gateway proxy pylon without 3rd gateway? They don't always lead into a macro game, into a 2-base situation. But first and foremost, what is actually coming out from it? So you have some people go 2, and then 2 Stalkers to kind of take account for what could be their opponent's 2 Adepts, who gets the victory there. And then sometimes you get one person kind of brute forcing damage by going for 4 Adepts, and the other person just playing defensive and macro oriented and going for Stalkers. And that's the scenario happening right now. MaNa, keeping all of his probes in the main base, knew it was on the way, so it doesn't take any risks in losing even 1 or 2 probes. This makes things a lot easier to deal with. He could have tried searching for the Adepts with 2 Stalkers, so that would have been a little bit dangerous. Obviously, they can shade past the Stalkers, and the Stalkers that run home. And also, 2 Stalkers have to be a little bit careful against 4 Adepts anyways. Like, literally just damage to damage. Oracle was anticipated and dealt with. Very common follow-up. You try and harass, distract, get the Militia Corps to be out of position. It's around that time I start losing my words. But MaNa is not having any of it and is defending so far flawlessly. 2 Stalkers and a Photon Overcharge potential means the Adepts don't want to shade in, and Harstem simply just has to make up for the later Nexus, which, I mean, he's really not that far behind, right? The one thing he's really behind in is tech. Will the Stargate add to enough to make up for what is a much faster blink? Just Twilight Council tech in general? MaNa's going for a Warp Prism. Starting to lose a couple of probes here. 5. Still not great for Harstem's 4 Adepts. 2 Oracles still live. Gonna go back into the main base. Mothership actually moves out of position at the exact wrong time. So grabs quite a few more probes. Once to get the Oracles retreating, that's why you overcharged that one, which ends up being perfect opportunity for Harstem. Blink isn't quite done, and he's grabbing a lot of kills. Just all of a sudden, a flawless defense turns into what now is an all-in. 17 probes, the blink of an eye. But can Harstem defend? I think so. Gotta hype it up somehow, though, right? He's got 2 pawns at the front of the base. An Immortal to help out. 2 Oracles, ensuring this is an all-in. And Stalkers, well, they have quite the job to do. They have Blink, they're in greater number, and they're gonna have a Warp Prism. They could perhaps just go into the main base, but Harstem is anticipating that. There's 2 pylons there as well. Doubtful this little Artosis pylon is going to be a huge influence in the game. This is exactly what Harstem's going to do. Blinking up to the main base with that shift-click blink. Force fields in the nick of time. Oh my god, that was perfect. Takes care of the 2 pylons. Takes care of the mothership core. She had a 3rd Photon Overcharge but can't use it. Another force field goes down and successfully cuts off the Immortals from their support. It is still 2 Immortals though, and they have their barrier, so a lot of Stalkers take a lot of damage and go down. That was it for the force fields. The other one still has their barrier, has to be popped. It's gonna blink on top of it. A very bold move considering that Harstem has Zealots here. MaNa, don't forget, is really in an all-in situation, and if he doesn't deal more economic damage, he might just be out of luck in this game. He's gonna take more damage himself. Oh no. Bad news. MaNa was starting to catch up here, but still down 13 probes. Harstem, a little bit late to that 3rd Immortal. Looks a little bit scary. MaNa able to produce off of 4 gateways, even with only... It was only producing off of 2 gateways? Wow. With only 20 probes. But that Immortal, oh, that really should be the kicker. So many of these Stalkers are low. That Oracle finally died, by the way, but damn. If it had not killed 5 more probes, MaNa's really on his way to coming back into this game. Second Immortal is about to come out too, and that'll just stop the aggression. Blink had finished up around, I don't even remember when, but a couple seconds ago. It's now going to be very useful in keeping Harstem Stalkers alive. And now MaNa really can't risk over-investing into the attack because he will be chased down. It's actually Harstem's aggressive blink that cost him one. MaNa thinking he did enough to continue a macro game. Again, if only he had not lost those 5 extra probes, I would say it's a pretty decent shot, but down almost 10 is a little bit harsher. Just starting his own Immortal production. What's this game really going to look like? I guess MaNa, I mean, if he could maybe delay the 3rd base a little bit, maybe he shuts down Harstem's Warp Prism. Just kidding, that's an Oracle. I don't know why I said Warp Prism. He never got one. Well, I guess then I'll rephrase and say MaNa never has to take any more damage, deals with the Oracle fine, and does his own harassment with his own Warp Prism. Well, that's a way to even have a stronger comeback here. 3rd base on the way for Harstem. I do believe MaNa has an intention to take a 3rd base himself, not a follow-up 2 base all in. Just continuing to build probes, a little oversaturated. Stalkers waiting for that perfect opportunity. These aren't a lot of Stalkers, and without upgrades, they can't really get a lot of damage done. But maybe they could cancel a Nexus? They're gonna get a couple probes. Well, this could be perfect timing. So one thing certainly missing from MaNa here, since he isn't doing too much harassment, and he doesn't have a Stargate, is detection. Or rather, scouting. He did see the army here. I'm surprised that doesn't force him to move in. That should have been the real... That should have been the time to move in. Alright, well... Eventually he's going to get a certain amount of probes. But Harstem has taken the map back. Delnaga's are his. Revelations are going down. Single probe. Hero probe, really. Scouts the direction of the attack. That's what MaNa was desperately missing. Now he goes in for the move on the third base, and there's plenty of probes to take down. Had he gone in earlier, maybe he can get the cancel. Maybe he can get the probes rallying, but this might have been a little bit juicier. Very paranoid of being attacked, though. Doesn't want to lose any of those stalkers. He could have taken out one or two of these pylons, but just chooses to disengage. Harstem would have been going up a ramp against a prepared army from MaNa. So even though a large portion of his army supply was missing, Harstem didn't want to take the attack. I mean, the MaNa might be down in an upgrade, but his army supply is kept pretty even. A lot of sentries are involved in Harstem's army, too. He has that Warp Prism to try and help micro. And he is looking for potentially a fight. But his third base is only just now really getting saturated. Again, down in the upgrade is about to be down in charge, too. And Harstem still should win this game. But for MaNa taking so much damage early on, he's really caught up. Robotics Bay. So gave a lot of talk to disruptors at the beginning of this game and the last game. Didn't really mention what I will call like Hail Mary disruptors, where you know that just pound for pound you can't win. They have better upgrades, they have the exact same units, they have better units as you're still on Blink Stalkers versus Charge Lots. So you try and go for a unit that doesn't care about upgrades, and Splash that doesn't care about numbers. I do believe this is what the Robotics Bay is going to be for. I'd be shocked if it was Colossus. This could be the way that he comes back. If Harstem doesn't see what's going on here and doesn't get the Phoenixes, he could lose a good portion of his army. MaNa probably even putting these Stalkers here to specifically deny both Warp Prism harassment, but also hallucinates Phoenix Scouts. I really like that move if that's the case. Disruptors have got to be the way to go to get back into this game. Harstem still hasn't seen what the composition is. Because, of course, seeing the Robotics Bay is one thing. You can also just see the actual army. A lot of vision going around for both players, but MaNa a little more limited to his side of the map. Fourth base put down for both players around the same time. And MaNa, as I said, has managed to bring back, what is it, like when he loses 20 SCVs? Or SCVs. 28 probes, but then managed to kill 15. So he's consistently been down in the income. Sometimes in really big ways. Just keeping at that supply that's just like, 20, 30 supply, you look at the army and you're like, I don't know if I can quite take that on. So you actually force it into a super long game, and that's where you come back. Yeah, your opponent might have better upgrades, they might have a bigger bank, but you can finally take a fight. And the fact is, Harstem is just going to go for disruptors as, himself, not Phoenixes. So it's going to be 5 disruptors to just a single one. MaNa's potentially going to get really just like strikes here. Harstem's going to have very limited knowledge. Where are the disruptors even hiding? On the natural base. The last place he expects to be scouted. Ooh, fleet beacons on the way for Harstem. Warp Prism harassment on the 4th base, kills a cannon, draws the army out of position, but does lose its life. So was that worth it, as Harstem does not take advantage of that mispositioning? Hallucinate Phoenix sees that and is probably pretty happy he didn't give up a natural or something for it. More charge that's coming in here, and Harstem is looking to the late game, perhaps Tempests, which is good because he is losing out in the Disruptors War. He could just fall behind in this game after being ahead by so much. Well, I think that was the first time he saw the Disruptors, but I might have missed a Hallucinate Phoenix somewhere. Regardless, Harstem commits to the attack. He knows there's going to be Disruptors coming from behind. He's only got one of his own. MaNa's going to be a little bit careful about sending his Disruptors in first, of course. Oh! Nice hit. Nice hit. It's a good chunk of the Stalkers. Or Zealots. The Stalkers stay behind. Snipe a Nexus. Don't get many probes from that, as they were all pulled away. Stalkers of MaNa is chasing them down as well, and we are kind of into a pseudo Blink Stalker Disruptor match. Lots of accessory units, of course. Archons, Zealots, Sentries. What would have been a bigger concave? Oh my god, that's a lot of damage taken. For MaNa, doesn't actually end up being so, as they both are so pretty clumped up, trying to collect all of their units. MaNa has Stalkers running through the army, so very clumsy initiation from both players. Now trying to get a little bit better. Snipe on that Disruptor. That would have gotten a really great hit. MaNa still down an army supply, but so many Disruptors being sent out. Big hits on the Zealots and the Immortals, but a Stasis Trap is activated, catching most of the Disruptors. The Blink Stalkers not on the left side, but can they actually win against what is still Archons and Immortals? Disruptor is saved, but only momentarily. MaNa now down almost 60 army supply, and Disruptor's just not being useful. Oh my god, perfectly timed by Harstem. Beautiful move there. I think he has just cinched the kill with that one. Doesn't get the snipe and Disruptor in time, but it doesn't seem like it's going to matter. MaNa down to just pure Blink Stalker against better units. His third base still has not been replaced, even though he has a lot of money to do so. And it's the gas where he's really fallen behind. Well, the army and the gas can't remake it. 2 gas guys he's never taken. These ones, long distance mining, not even. They never got their probes back in there. Harstem clearly going to win this game, but damn. MaNa, I really thought had a chance. If he had taken a direct fight, none of this clumsy, weird positioning fight with the stasis traps, he has a real shot with how many Disruptors he had. But now, no shot. No shot whatsoever. It's pure numbers game. Harstem still even has that +3 attack and only a +2. MaNa desperately microing. But what is he really going to do? What is really going to happen here? Mothership even comes forward. I hope MaNa has some type of detection. I don't think he does. He doesn't. That is a very sad looking units bar. GG. Alright. MaNa finding himself in a bad position from the get-go with the early attack that didn't quite pan out. Too bad though, because in the very first few minutes of the game he was doing really well. Harstem ends up being able to take it in a longer game. Almost 18 minutes, but one that was mostly in his favor. Next map is going to be Interloper. We'll be getting into that in 2 minutes. Things have been all tied up. I did not say that very accurately. Things have been all tied up. Oh no. And my voice. In the top left, that's the blue Protoss. It is MaNa. And the top, nope, bottom right, it is Harstem. Dehydration has set in. Weakness is occurring. Mom's spaghetti. Oh, God. Oh, that stretch helped a little bit. Yeah. 1-1. MaNa had a strong start into a not-so-strong start-ish. Into a slow tumble down. Disruptors couldn't save him. Harstem's like, nah, man, I'm the one trying to bring Disruptors back. Or something along those lines. What is in store for game number 3 on Interloper, a smaller map? No one yet has tried some early game proxy shenanigans. And I would bet on MaNa doing it first, more than Harstem. Harstem last game did go for the quadruple adept opener, which I would say didn't work initially, but funnily enough, in a way, worked later. Gave the opening for the 2 oracles after about a minute. MaNa probably pretty unhappy with how that game went, considering how well he did initially. You know, probably thinking like, oh, I have this on lockdown, everything's good to go, and then he moves his mothership core position for 1 second. Seriously, like 1.5 seconds, guys. And the oracles deal a ton of damage. He was preparing to push out, so he's always going to be in danger of that circumstance, like whether it was 15 probes or just 5. But the fact that it was 15 is obviously a lot worse. MaNa goes for Stalkers. Both have their probe scouts. Yes, there we are. Harstem, ditto. MaNa's only going for 1, though, and then a Zealot, of all things? Interesting. Sometimes we see a Sentry with a Stalker, but a Zealot? That's gonna be weird. Robo off of 1 base for Harstem. Very safe opener. Pro's gonna be caught. That died. Where is Rifkin today? He is at TwitchCon. Most people will go to events Thursday so that they can be there for Friday through Sunday. Some people go Friday because the beginning isn't too important. I am going Saturday. Because honestly, I haven't been too impressed with TwitchCon, and it's not really the StarCraft scene, right? It's a general Twitch thing, which I'm more about the StarCraft than I am about the Twitch. And Long Beach is just hella expensive, guys. That was the other big influencing factor, is that the hotels were extremely outrageous. I mean, it was like Actually, was it $250 for me and I'm splitting it with someone else at night, or was it $500 total? Like, I don't even remember. Point is, you know, $100 a night hotel, like, fine, whatever. But, like, $250, $300? Jesus. And it's far away from the venue. It wasn't even that good of a hotel. Anywho, so Harstem goes to the Robo first and foremost, and then the Nexus. MaNa playing a little bit greedier. I said this could be this was a defensive opener, but I guess I should have said could be a defensive opener. Of course, this can turn into aggression given the opportunity. Chrono out that Warp Prism, send forth your army, see what you can do. MaNa might have 7 probes extra, but he's down a little bit in the army supply. He did cancel the Zealot, so there wasn't any aggression. But it was such an interesting, like, I wonder why he did that. I guess it was like a little bit faster over Robo because the Stalker costs gas, Zealot doesn't, and if you don't need it, then you cancel it. It's weird to say it's a protective, defensive Zealot because you don't usually see them anymore. I think something just saw that army. It did. So he's putting a pylon on the high ground, warping whatever he can. There's a single photon overcharge to help out here. And I think he's a lot more worried about the drop of the Sentry. He sees it coming. A force field does go down, but only manages to cut off 2 Adepts. That isn't too much. Sentry's going to be hard-pressed to get another one on the ramp, but does try and cut off a couple of units. Harstem doesn't have to all in with this, but he has stopped producing probes, so it is an all-in, and oof, tough luck. 2 Adepts end up being perfect, one-shotting that Sentry with the help of the photon overcharge. No chance for the force field to come down. Harstem still has the army advantage. A couple of nice force fields also push MaNa's Immortal so far forward. Ends up being a nice snipe. The MaNa very quickly reinforcing with a 3rd one. Harstem has to go back into probing. MaNa also adding on Resident Glaives and Gateways. He's going to be going for a counter immediately once he's dealt with this, and Harstem will be hard-pressed to stop it. The Observer is going to keep scouting, I guess, if it has a shot. This army has any shot at all. There are no more Fortune Overcharges, and this is probably Harstem's best shot. Mortal's actually getting some nice micro ability with the Warp Prism combination, but MaNa's getting a little bit scared. His Resident Glaze is about to finish, and that'll help take care of a lot of these sentries, which are a large portion of Harstem's army. A robotics bay is on the way now for Harstem, so very quickly into Disruptors. We saw MaNa go into Disruptors, but that seemed like I said, more of a Hail Mary, like, oh shit, I'm in trouble here. And maybe that's also what Harstem is thinking. But with all that aggression, he certainly managed to catch up in the probe count. Has fallen behind in production, 6 gateways to 3, although 4 are just depowered. Nice snipe right there. Perhaps looking for a proxy pylon, not finding one. Warp Prism's going to be always a threat. And does Harstem have Militia Core? Yeah, she's in the main. She has full energy, too. Adepts are very scary. They're going to go ahead and transfer into the main base, but they also could have transferred on top of the sentries to take them out immediately. Transferring into the main base could have potentially been a mistake. They aren't really getting a lot of probes. Instant pull away and a couple of photon overcharges. Now going into the natural base. The main army has been pushed off, but there's a Warp Prism warping in even more, and Harstem is having a difficult time taking care of things. Those 6 probes instantly became 17. The army might also go down as the Immortal is target fired. Warp Prism micro going down from both sides. Which is going to be better? MaNa still has a superior army supply. And with that last Warp Point of Adepts, I think he's got this game. Guardian Shield is a bit of a factor, but not enough. GG. MaNa takes game number 3. My cat left. Got too warm from him. Game number 4 is going to be on Odyssey. Alright, Odyssey could be the last map. There we go. The top left, as the blue Protoss, he is Harstem. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, it is Liquid MaNa. If you guys can see the box, then I suppose you could also see a Nugget. Nugget is the cute multicolored one. And she's so fuzzy. I don't understand. She's so soft. I mean, she's just a typical domestic short hair, but she's so soft. Said this could be the last map since MaNa is up 2-1. If he takes this game, he would be out first in the group. Quite a surprise. As even though, you know, as much as a surprise it is for him to take out Snoot, to taking out Harstem is also a surprise. But really having to reevaluate MaNa on a daily, weekly basis. Sometimes this guy is amazing. Sometimes he looks to be in one of his worst forms. Still quite inconsistent. The good word to use there. And certainly that inconsistency has contributed to his lack of WCS points. Which is really sad, you know? Sometimes he'll be in like really great shape leading up to an event. And I would love to see him into the round of 8, and he'll get cut off at like the round of 32. Ah, feels bad. Yeah, Nugget's emote is the special one. Tier 2 for that. I don't like the way that Twitch organizes the emotes. Why isn't one of mine first? There you go. These are for Blazer. Blazer's over there sleeping. Thank you for the 100 bits. Blazer woke me up today with his very stinky breath. Sometimes I hate him. We had, I think, earlier gateways just by like a tiny little amount by MaNa. Going into Adepts versus Stalkers from Harstem. Usually the more defensive units. But as we've seen in many games, even today, can go into the aggressive. Yeah, there you go. Stargate being added. MaNa hopefully going to see that's happening. Just by the lack of a Nexus, he'll know that something is up and that something is usually a Stargate, although last game it was a Robo. Brush his teeth? I mean, I swear I might have to. The doctor says it's because his like teeth are falling out, but I've never had a cat with such bad breath, man. Ugh. 2 Adepts bypass 2 Stalkers, but Harstem isn't using what you would usually see the Stalkers do. They usually just kind of scout around over there and then a little bit over there, and then they maybe find Adepts and maybe not. No, they're just running across the map. They have a job to do. And unfortunately, while Harstem could have walled off the Adepts, that is a misplay from him. To now have to worry about them lose probes, have his Stalkers pull back from the damage they're supposed to be doing. This was absolutely huge for MaNa to do. He even gets out with both Adepts alive. 7 probes. Harstem. not at all what he wanted. I mean, that probe was patrolling for a reason. He wanted it to stop the pylon, but I guess while his stalker saw the adepts, he might have been preparing to attack, so his eyes were just in the wrong position. Stalkers are trying to chase down the adepts, but at this point, this is like, you know, they would be the bare minimum of what they could do. Maybe they kill the adepts, it's take a long time, and the damage has already been done. Sentries being added on, Immortal being added on. Harstem did go for the follow-up Oracle. We see the first one here trying to do damage, but doesn't find anything. Huge lag spike. What's going? I mean, it can't be. Is it me? Oh my god, it is me. Oof. So Blizzard's actually improved what happens when an observer lags, which is great for me. Because while that was a huge spike for me, the players don't feel it nearly as badly, so hopefully it doesn't happen again. I know MaNa mentioned lag earlier in the series, but that's when I didn't feel anything. I don't quite know what that was. Harstem is gonna lose that Oracle seemingly anyways. It was just it wasn't being moved fast enough. And I think if it was a super big deal, he would have asked for a recover from replay. But his opener is already, as I said, been like stifled, and then the Oracle doing damage is just a cherry on top to a poopy ice cream. Depth's taken care of. Don't do counter damage. Don't do any damage. Means that MaNa might be at even probes. It's for a reason. He stopped producing them, went for production, really emphasized the units production here, and has a greater army supply. So that water was really loud. 2 pylons for what is about to be 2 overcharges will help buy time. But MaNa's gonna have quite the fearsome push. No Warp Prism though. A little bit late to the party with that one. Looks like he grabbed the Oracle, the Photon Overcharge, so no fear of counter damage. Nope, just kidding. The second Oracle in the natural base. Lots of probes gonna go down here. Adept Shade down into the main. Guardian Shield is popped. Overcharge a little bit late to the party, but Harstem I think might have just been conservative with it. Adepts decided not to shade through. 10 probes went down. The natural's just no longer mining, and this is eerily similar to what was it, game number 2? Can MaNa win with this push? Because at this point, it's what he has to do. Fortunately, loses that sentry with all of the energy to the pylon. Bad move there. That would have been a very instrumental Guardian Shield or even a couple of really good force fields. Immortal's about to pop out. He's got to go. Photon Overcharge is done. This might have been the perfect timing. If the Immortal of Harstem takes on the Adepts, that's the least effectiveness it could have. It's actually targeting the sentry right now. That force field is a bit lackluster. Didn't really have a purpose, but here comes the Warp Prism escorting a couple of sentries. Hey, there we go. And still able to provide some micro. Picks up the Immortal, picks up the second Immortal. Mothership Core goes down, Immortal goes down, and Harstem, I think, has simply lost the game, despite his Oracle dealing so much damage. The Robo on the front lines is going to be popped before the last Immortal can get out. Oh, so close. GG. MaNa is getting out first in this group, taking Harstem down 3-1. Great performance by MaNa. Always a guy that can be underestimated. Awesome to see him come out first. And now Harstem will be having a rematch against DNS from earlier today in the last best of 5. Trying to get the bracket updated. That is going to send us into one of our longer breaks. And thank everyone for watching. Reminder, this is sponsored by TING. There's also a Matcherino that you guys can go to contribute. I know you guys love doing that, and it's definitely something the players love when that happens. There's some goals that are set up, and just know the feeling that you're helping out this awesome tournament that's been running for 4 seasons now is a good feeling. And if you're in the US and you use a lot of Wi-Fi, well, then consider checking out Ting as your service provider, because they are certainly a good alternative for a lot of people. It's going to be about a 6-minute break here while DNS and Harstem get ready to go. So thanks for watching, everyone. Last series coming up.